This episode is for January 22nd, 2016. Welcome, Crater fans, to the Crater podcast. I'm your host, Josh Owens, along with my freshly shorn co-host,
Brad Pitt. No, I wish.
Brad Pitt. Nice. So if you're watching the video, Ben just got a haircut.
Yes.
It's very interesting. I like it.
It was the first time I ever went to a hairstylist with a picture of a movie star. Like you see girls do that all the time.
But did you actually take the time and print out a picture and you're like this?
Print out the picture. What am I?
Or were you pointing at your phone?
I was pointing at my phone.
Okay. I'm just making sure. I wanted to know the level of effort you went to here.
Yeah, just a quick Google search. But still, I felt like a teenager. It was like,
yeah.
But I got to thank Carl Danninger from OK Grow for talking my wife into saying I must get this haircut.
Nice.
And we'll see how it goes.
So is your wife in the OK Grow Slack then?
No. But I'm transparent. That's what it is. Transparent marriage, right? Be like, look at what these guys wrote, honey. And she's like, oh, that looks okay.
Yeah. Do it.
Do
it now, Ben. Do it.
Yeah.
So
first
off, we got Modulus is back as a sponsor. Welcome
Woohoo.
to Modulus. If you're looking for Meteor hosting, they're definitely one of the best options available.
Yes.
Though I am gonna have a little fun and poke a little at Galaxy with my upcoming blog post, how to build your own Galaxy.
Oh.
Yeah, that one should be a fun topic.
I wonder how you can go down the rabbit hole with that.
Yeah?
You can get pretty crazy. But I think you're the perfect guy to kind of write that right now because you kind of have the pieces already and you've spent a lot of time figuring it out. So
yeah. It's basically just some configs, so it's not too crazy. But this week we're talking about the state of Meteor.
Oh,
that's a thing.
Yeah, and WordPress.
Yes.
With React, GraphQL. What else we got? Yeah, Node. React.
Just say no to isomorphic apps.
It was a buzzword last year.
Yeah.
Now it's just say no.
And it's funny too because it's nowadays it's universal. Airnote is dating himself by saying isomorphic. Anyway, I'm just kidding. And using a CDN with your Meteor app.
Yeah, I heard someone pretty cool wrote that.
No, it was a terrible article. Terrible.
I'll tell you a funny joke when we get to that topic.
Okay.
About it.
All right.
Not a joke, but just a coincidence. All right. So let's dive into this.
Yes.
So there was this blog post that didn't get much attention at all. That's why we're going to be reporting on it.
Totally did not hit number one on Hacker News. Did not have a follow-up that hit number one on Hacker News.
Yeah. Did you read part 3?
I did. I did read part 3. I did not spend as much time reading part 3 as I probably should have, though.
Part 3 was an easy read. It disemified everything that just happened.
Yeah.
I think it caught Sasha off guard too.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's one of those things the title of the original one, I think, the state of Meteor part 1, what went wrong? That right there is probably enough to get you onto Hacker News. I've only ever had one story hit the top of Hacker News myself, and that was Meteor killing Rails. So, they do love their drama.
I'm going to rant a little bit just for 1 minute.
All right.
I personally, and I like to get your input on it too, Josh. I personally do not like when supporters of Meteor, and Sasha is ultimately a supporter, part 2 and all that stuff, say that stuff because they are, and Aeronoda is guilty for it as well, because if they lead with that link bait right there, all of a sudden it creates a tone
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would agree on some level, but at the same time, like, I don't, you look at Sasha's numbers, I don't think you get 40, 50,000 people reading that post without that title. Just my opinion.
I know, but it gave so much ammunition to ignorant comments, which you saw.
I mean, it did, but at the same time, like, a lot of what he said is stuff that a lot of people have been saying for a while. I also think,
I guess it's like, I don't know. Here's the thing. Like, there's an overall negative tone in Meteor, with the community and all that stuff.
sure.
But yet, when you talk to people and you're like, well, what are you going to build your next app in? What do you think is still number one for Node? And they're going to say, well, Meteor. And so it's like, well, why is there an overarching negative tone? And I think it's because, or I don't know what it's for. It could be a bunch of things, but I just think link baiting like that, or like subtitles like that, will throw a little bit of gasoline on there, when really we should like probably be extinguishing it as leaders.
Maybe.
Unless it's
it's
justified.
Here's the thing. Like, I would say it would be completely unjustified if MDG worked with the community more, but they don't. And like, I wrote that article and I looked at the contributors versus commits, and I looked at like multiple open source communities, and they are way out of whack.
Yeah. Tell everyone the title. Tell everyone the title of that article. That is a very interesting article that I thought.
I left it out because I haven't put it on Crater yet, because like I had mixed feelings about writing it. Like, I sat on it for almost 2 weeks. And like,
so tell us the title.
I showed it to you. I showed it to Abby, and like, Abby's like, it's too negative. Don't do it. And so
Abby said that?
Yeah. And I tried to, I made the second pass and tried to make it more positive. But yeah, it was like, the why Meteor Development Group needs React and Facebook. And, I mean, if you listen to this show, I don't think it comes as any surprise, the things that I've been saying on here. Like, there's no way Meteor Development Group becomes a profitable hosting company off Meteor alone, especially if they're the ones paying for all that work on Meteor.
Right.
Right. No one wants to.
And they know that too.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So.
But, in the end, we did that interview. It's going to come out next week with Bonnie Eisenman, and like, just hearing her talk about the React Native community and the React community and like how open they are, like, it just got me thinking. And like, I went and looked, and like, they have 6,000 commits and 600 contributors. Like, there's 10 commits per contributor on average. And Rails has like 55,000 commits, and
I'm looking at it right now.
And they've got almost 3,000 contributors.
Yeah.
And so that comes out to be about 18 per committer on average.
All right, now listen up, guys. Listen up to the next part. Say it. Are you going to talk about Meteor?
Yeah.
Okay, now Meteor. Okay, guys, listen up to this.
15,000 commits, 258 contributors. That's 58 commits on average. And when you go in and you look, any committer that has more than 58 was paid by MDG. Anyone that's below 58 was not an MDG person, not an MDG paid employee in any way.
That's interesting.
I think that's one of my new measurements for like the health of a community. And granted, like, you go look at something like Rails, and David Heinemeier Hansen has the number one commits, and he's at like 3,900 commits or something like that, right? And that's to be expected. Like, I would expect people who are strong leaders writing code to be at the top of that list. That makes total sense to me. But the fact that that average is way out there, and to me, I would say a healthy community is probably tops out somewhere around 25.
If you got someone who's making 3,000 commits, that's going to skew the averages to be a higher number.
It is.
So the fact that Rails had a lower number, like, speaks even higher.
Well, it falls off pretty drastically too, right? Like, if you look at some older Rails core committers, they're down in the like 400s, and they were there for like almost 2 years. So,
yeah,
I think, to me, it speaks volumes that I still have more commits in Rails than I do in Meteor, and that's not for a lack of trying. So that we keep hearing all this stuff about how they're going to do better, right? We keep hearing it, back in June, Matt got on the Q&A and said they're going to try to fix all this. And, we keep hearing Sashko talk about, these are great ideas. We're working on this stuff. But none of us want to hear we're working on this stuff. We want to hear how we can help work on this stuff.
Yes.
And that's a big thing to me.
So
that's why, to me, that led to Sasha being validated and saying a lot of this stuff, in my opinion.
What he said was legit. I think I'm basically judging his article and his title based off of the responses that it conjured on Hacker News.
I mean,
that's unfair to him. So I'll have to say sorry to that. But
I'll agree with you. The title wasn't the best, but at the same time, I still don't think people would have paid attention if it was the state of Meteor, where can we improve? People would have been like,
How many people read part 1 that never worked in Meteor before, but they read it because it was Hacker News, and then they just didn't care to read part 2?
Yeah, but
now their judgment is solidified.
That's the same argument that I get from my wife. I need to discount my book to free in order to get readers. But then I'll get them on my email list, and then they'll if they enjoyed that book, they'll buy all my other books. I got news for you. People that download a free book, they don't like to buy books. That's the truth. Converting off of a free list is terrible and it's hard. And I think it's the same thing. A good portion of these people would never give Meteor a try. They didn't like it to begin with, and they were never going to give it a fair shake. And so they're playing the pundit role from the outside, armchair quarterbacking, right? Backseat driving. And I don't know. I'm not too sad that happened.
Yeah.
Stay in our community.
And yep. It's interesting. It's just interesting. I like to stay a cheerleader sometimes. So I don't know. Part 1 came out. I didn't enjoy it. It was valid. So
but you liked part 2?
I very much enjoyed part 2.
Yeah? What did you like about part 2?
I don't know. Now I read that days ago, man. I gotta go back.
Days. Yeah, I guess
it was yesterday.
should have had this up. Yeah, I felt like this took up all my week. Goodness. Check out part 2. So he linked part 2
okay.
to part 1.
I loved, because I don't hear a lot of people talk about this.
Mm-hmm.
I loved the title. It says "The Cure for JavaScript Fatigue."
Yeah,
I've only heard 2 other people mention it. I 100% agree that a lot of people are like, "Oh, what's and I think we found it in the chat room. People are like, "Oh, after all these parts are going to be cut out of Meteor, what's going to be left? We're going to put all this Facebook stuff in. There's going to be nothing left for Meteor. It's not going to have a unique selling proposition." And my response is exactly this. Right now, there's JavaScript fatigue for everyone. Everyone's bogged down. They're confused. They're looking for not only an opinion, but something that's really easy to use. And right now, stuff isn't easy to use.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think if
Meteor's going to roll out on the stage now, it's going to be Meteor, the second coming, pretty much.
So I think there's if you look at React in comparison and the React ecosystem in comparison, right? Which is weird because we can tap into all that stuff now, and we're getting there with 1.3. We'll just be able to say oh yeah, I'll use that npm package, and that's great.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of bizarre, but we're at this point where I think that a lot of what's out there about React is confusing to new people because there's so much, and some of it's kind of crappy, as far as tutorials and trainings and stuff of that nature goes. Mm-hmm. Pete Hunt himself came out with a README almost like a tiny Meteor Guides type project
Yeah,
on
we
GitHub.
covered that.
And he's like, I went in there. He's still working on it. Like, I think for him, React is definitely still a passion project. But they suffer from different problems.
Yeah.
And that's, in my post, I said the grass may look greener, but trust me, it ain't. Like, you're gonna have different problems.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe those problems look more attractive to you, or you're able to live with them better. And that's a choice you have to make when you're building your business.
Yeah. I like that Sasha said, listen, like React isn't as hard as people make it out to be.
It's not. It's not.
It's not. Once you like build one app with it, it's like, wow, these patterns just like fly out of my mind now, and I could just do it. Yeah. So it's easy. I think.
Well, and I've said it before. Like, I think to me, it encourages a much better practice as far as like how you structure your view in the front end. I think back to like my Twitter training class and going from like wanting to share a template between multiple pages and having to refactor that. Like, had it just been written in React, I would have written it the correct way. It would have been much more reusable out of the gate.
Yeah. I think now where it spurs out is like everything that is possible now with React, and it just like it's almost like all the stuff got puked out by the community once React hit, and they're like, oh, what can we do here? And Facebook helped with that. All the way from more modular components. We're talking about like test modularity, CSS modularity, and then managing state. Around that. And so then that's like, I think that's where fatigue comes in, because all of a sudden you switch out React and then you see other possibilities.
Well, down to brass tacks, Facebook is Facebook, right? Like, how many Facebooks have we had in the last 10 years? One. And Twitter. And most people think Twitter is dying or failing. So, I mean,
I love Twitter.
Who the hell is building an app at the scale that Facebook is building an app?
Yeah.
Like, nobody. Even Uber is like order of magnitude smaller, I bet. Mm-hmm. So they're releasing a bunch of best practices. They're putting out a bunch of libraries. That's great for them. But that doesn't mean that it necessarily fits your startup project.
Yeah. I'm glad that Blaze is sticking around. I want to get a firmer understanding on what it means.
What that means. I agree. That's kind of why I put my post out there, because it's like I still feel like I don't understand. I took care with the wording I used in my paragraphs there talking about Blaze, because there's questions that need answered still.
There is.
But the other thing I liked about part 2 was he talked about server-aware components, and this is probably one of my favorite features of Meteor itself. And it's the fact that you can deliver both the client and the server code wired up in a way that it all works together. You get the functionality that makes sense. And, it's in a package that you can just consume and stick into your application. That's always been the most powerful feature of Meteor to me.
Yeah. Yep. So. But now it's like going to be expanding. So we're going to be in the NPM world.
Well, I think the great thing is we'll be able to
clear separation between those two.
We'll have clear separation, but you'll be able to take a React package and kind of wrap around it and build a server-side piece and get it done. And I think that's pretty exciting to me.
It is.
Because I think there's a lot of client-side kind of libraries available for React.
I think we feel behind on a lot of things, like a lot of developers with all this new stuff. But at that point where NPM starts leveling up, where they have a back end and front end, the possibilities of that, we've been living in that world already.
We have.
So that's where we're going to be ahead, and we can offer value.
Yeah.
In that area. So
yeah, should be interesting.
Mm-hmm. Okay. We spent a lot of time on those things.
We did. I kind of thought we would, to be honest. Why don't you tell us about Ramsey? What did Ramsey talk about?
Ramsey's awesome. And then he came out with a couple articles about WordPress. And then I was like,
he's off in major experimentation mode, right?
Yeah. It's like, oh, you're doing that. He lost a star from me. I'm joking. Actually, WordPress is like fascinating to me. On the Ben and Abby show that I did, I made a prediction that we're going to see WordPress, which powers like 25% of the web, move more and more on the Node ecosystem and less on PHP in 2016. So that's just my prediction, and that's pretty cool because that just you think like as JavaScript developers, we're in demand now. Like WordPress is going to be bringing like a tidal wave of demand to us some more, and so it's just going to be.
So Ramsey's just on the front end of that curve, huh?
I think yeah. So Ramsey works for a consulting firm, and I think he wants to be one of the first guys there, and so it's really smart. These articles are right up the alley for a lot of people, a lot of WordPress developers asking these questions, and here he is coming out with these tutorials on how to like wire up and start your WordPress front end working with Node, serving up the views and getting your data through GraphQL. I think the bigger story is GraphQL, and part two, he dove into it a lot. If you think about WordPress and like what makes it slow, besides like advertising, it's all the data that you're going to be pulling down, right? And GraphQL is going to like.
Well, part of that is generating that HTML on the server after you fetch the data, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that's slower.
Yeah.
I think I left my puppy outside. Oops.
Need to run off, man? How cold is it out there?
It's she's a lab. It's 29 degrees.
Okay.
I'll text my wife. So yeah, I don't know. Like I think I don't know. I hate WordPress. Like when he has a site in WordPress, I was actually talking to Ramsey about this very thing, and it's like it's just broken. I don't know why it broke. I didn't do anything. She didn't do anything. We just came to it one day and it was broken. And it's like that's terrible. I should not have a deployed application on a server that just breaks.
Yeah, who is the developer on that one?
Gosh.
Jeez.
Well, I spent like 20 minutes trying to fix it, but I have no idea what I'm doing in PHP land anymore.
Yeah.
So, but
it's going to get better. It's going to get better.
Yeah, it will. But I think this is really interesting just to see like Ramsey building something with Webpack that's tapping into WordPress and using GraphQL. So I thought it was worth mentioning.
Mm-hmm. Yep, he did an excellent job giving all the code that you need for Webpack. So it's going to like save everyone like 5 hours of yak shaving. Thank you, Ramsey, for doing that. And it's cool. Like all of a sudden now WordPress developers are going to like really like get a taste of like hot code loading and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
We just get out of the box. So
yeah, I like the picture at the bottom too, where it's Indiana Jones saying that belongs in a museum. The subtitle is us talking about GraphQL in 2 years, probably.
No. Jeez.
All right.
What do we got next?
Just say no
to drugs.
I wonder if he intentionally tried to channel that.
I don't know. Do they even have that PSA thing out in Sri Lanka?
No, that was like an 80s Nancy Reagan thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, just say no.
Yeah. So
I also think of like only you can prevent forest fires. It's like,
so basically he's saying like let's he did mention universal here. Maybe my mind
he switched it out. So he made an editor.
He did.
He did. Yeah.
He did. Okay.
Was that from you? Did you give him a hard time?
I did not give him a hard time about it, but I noticed he was getting some hard times in the comments. So
universal, I don't know. Universal apps.
Yeah, I mean, it's the idea that you can write it once and it can be used everywhere, including the web, iOS, Android.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know how I feel. Like I really have mixed feelings about this post. Number one, I'll say like it's worth taking a read. I'm just not. I have mixed feelings about the overall message and if we should be adapting it.
This was a very opinionated post from Aranota, and usually we see like innovative posts from him. But to see an opinionated post, like the innovative ones have a sprinkle of opinionation, and that's cool. We can accept it. But this was like kind of like, whoa, what's this opinion that you have? Like, I don't know. It just stood out to me. It sounds like it stood out to you too.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And I think he's right. Maybe one code base is bad. Like I haven't had the displeasure of like trying to make this work.
Mm-hmm.
The one Cordova app that I built only had to work for iOS. And like it was okay that we had iOS design kind of showing up when people put up the web page because it was really just for the phones.
Yeah.
They did a separate reporting interface in Drupal. So I don't know that I've ever felt any of these pains necessarily. I would be curious. Like I have hopes that at some point I can use Cordova or React Native and maybe get Crater into a mobile app.
Yeah.
And I see benefit like in being able to have one code base for the most part.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure I buy into it.
So I worked on a huge project that had all three components, Android, iOS, and web. And I could definitely see separating the admin side, the website, from the mobile. But I can't see separating Android and iOS, especially for Cordova.
I feel like, the stated goal of React Native is not to write once, run everywhere. But at the same time, like we talked to Bonnie, and she had it was a smaller project, and she said, she had 100% code reuse on her project. She actually wrote it for iOS.
That was interesting.
It worked completely for Android. And I've heard other people say that they're looking at like 80 to 85% code reuse.
Yeah.
So
no, that's realistic. Yeah.
I think that's pretty great. And I think that's a good thing to shoot for, in my opinion.
So if you read this post more, like he wasn't saying like, you're not going to have code reuse or anything like that. I actually, after reading the whole article, I do support it.
I think he's saying like, just make smarter cuts where you have your code reuse.
Well, he's basically saying now how things are moving and you have one package manager, NPM, go ahead and make isomorphic or universal modules or components.
Yeah.
But have standalone platforms that then import those modules.
I guess I do agree with that.
And I like that. And some people are going to be like, well, what's the difference then? And I think the big difference is it's forcing us to have more and more of a package mentality. And we're going to just explode with publishing stuff. If we build our apps in this kind of way and our modules are isomorphic, but they're not like tied to the app, they're like separate imports, well, then what's stopping us from like just like cleaning it up a bit and make it a public package? And so I like it. It's just, I think again, it was some link baiting, makes it look extreme. You read it and you're like, oh yeah, it's just like a little bit of like, you're just like you're like just moving the goal just a little bit, but not like extremely. You still got like isomorphic code. You still got code reuse, just in a different way. It also prepares you for React Native, which I think everyone should prepare from what I'm hearing.
Yes. Yeah. After last night.
Mm-hmm. And then like listening to Bonnie, like, I didn't dive into React Native. One of the big things I really liked from the Bonnie interview is like, it's not compiled down to like native code, React Native. It's literally just JavaScript on the phone executing native commands. And so we could totally like do hot code push still.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And it sounds like Meteor's working on that, which is super interesting.
They will. So like I was on the chat last night and when we were watching, man, did they change the name? Meteor Night?
Meteor Night, yeah,
Yes.
instead of Dev Shop.
I don't know what I think about that. I like Dev Shop more. Because you know what? In the chat, I think there were some people in there thinking it was like a meteor talk. Like
Did they cut it
space
down?
meteors. Like space meteors.
Uh,
Like there's like, when's the next meteor shower and stuff? I didn't know like if they were serious or what. Anyway. Anywho, so Sashko was in there and he mentioned while Martin was giving his talk about Cordova and the changes coming in version 1.3 of Meteor, saying that like Martin's really looking forward to his next project, which is integrating React Native after the Cordova stuff is like wrapped up for 1.3.
yeah.
So that's exciting.
That is exciting. And I think, 1.3 with its module support makes it a little bit easier to probably pull that off.
Yes. Yeah, there's definitely a trajectory here.
There's still work that has to be done, I think. But
yes, absolutely. Yeah.
But anyway, good article. Again, really worth reading. Take the time to take a look at it.
Yeah.
So,
all right. So we all done? That's it?
Yeah, that's all. Just 3 stories this week.
Guys, we have an awesome one by our very own Josh Owens. Take a bow.
I always feel weird putting my own stories on here.
Why?
I don't know. It just, I don't like self-promotion.
You don't?
No.
Okay, well, I'll promote you. So there's this awesome blog that you don't know about, but you should know about. It's called joshowens.me, Unicorns and Rainbows. He talks mostly about rainbows, but sometimes about Meteor. So this one was using a CDN with your production Meteor app. And before we dive into it, so the funny thing is we just like integrated a CDN on okgrow.com. And we're going to be making a push to write more articles this year.
Mm.
And this was Carl's first article for the year. He was like working on it right now.
Sorry, Carl. It's been, honestly, like it was half written. Like I have so many half written posts on my machine.
Yeah.
Oh, this was just the easy one I picked to finish this. I was supposed to come out last week, but I was too lazy.
Well, I asked him to compare notes and like to see like what he thought of it, and like he was really impressed with your article. So there you go. It's vetted now.
Nice.
It's rocking.
Yeah. I ran it by a couple of people who maybe weren't super familiar with CDN and like how that works. And I'm just not a huge fan of something that's like overly engineered. And I feel like Cloudflare is overly engineered in my opinion. And
really? Okay.
I get that there's valid concerns that you may want to use Cloudflare to protect yourself from DDoS and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, like right now, you'd have to disable DDP if you're on their free plan, or you got to pay them like, you got to get out your big check and write it and send it to them because it's expensive. But
is it like more than the $20 a month plan?
I don't know. I don't know what I thought it was like an enterprise plan to get SSL WebSocket support.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
That is expensive.
I could be wrong. But I'm I did a little bit of research. I actually did this project back in August. This is how long I've really been sitting on this blog post. But Dean and I worked on it a little bit, and he found this little undocumented piece of code that we can call here web app internals prefix CSS.js bundle or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And like you just make a call to that and give it a URL, and it just shoves that URL in front of every little file that it compiles or spits out, and it like automatically works with package calls for like assets. It works with the compiled CSS and JS. And so the great thing is like you can you just point at a CloudFront, not Cloudflare, a CloudFront CDN URL, and you tell CloudFront where to go find those files on your website, and then you point at CloudFront, right? So when you go to Crater, you're getting some CloudFront URLs. You're going there and saying like, hey, I need this JS file, I need this CSS file, give me this image file, and it's gonna like look and say like, oh hey, what do we got down here in our storage? And oh, here you go, you can have it. If they don't have it, that origin is going to use that origin URL and come back and grab it off the website and then serve it back to the customer. So it's like a pass-through caching system, but you don't have to worry about like pre-packaging it, uploading it to the CDN, doing any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's got all the smarts built in, and Meteor has enough smarts built in with the naming of the files that you don't have to worry about like, things being cached for too long, because it's all like MD5 hashed in the URL or in the naming of the files and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So
I really enjoyed this article. I like that you separated the concerns between Cloudflare and CloudFront, stuff that people wouldn't really know.
Yeah.
And it was like, it takes like someone who like went through the trenches, and you summed it up really clearly.
Yeah. Well, and I think the key point too is like a CDN kind of gives you speed ups in multiple ways, right? Like, so they have servers that are like all around the globe, and your file gets pushed all around there. So if someone in India pulls it up and there's a server that's close in India, they're going to get it from that server instead of from, New York where the Crater server's hosted.
Mm-hmm.
And that's some speed. And then the other great thing is most people don't realize this, and it's not talked about a lot, but browsers have I don't think they call it pipelining per se, but they only open like 2 parallel connections on average by default to any given domain. And so when you open up Crater, if you look at it, like you load something like 6 or 7 domains, and most of them are like, we're pulling in images off of the Twitter CDN or Gravatar or Crater itself, or now we've got CloudFront. And so like those 4, if you think about those 4, if we can open up 2 connections for each, we're looking at 8 connections to be downloading data simultaneously. Whereas if we get rid of Cloudflare, we're down to 6. And so now you've got like 5 or 6 files you got to load off the Crater domain, and you can only do it 2 at a time. So that gives you a little speed as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is huge. That adds up quite a bit.
Yeah, it does. It does. It matters.
It's good stuff.
Yeah.
And so this is probably going to be like one of the chunks of building your own galaxy.
It is. It's like I'm thinking about republishing this on Medium as like speeding up Crater, as like a multi-part speeding up Crater series. Because there's some other interesting stuff too, like the indexing order in Mongo apparently matters. I found that out a couple weeks ago. That's probably worth writing up, because there's funny. Like one blog post about it, and that's it.
We found out the same situation in a big project we're working on, but in Rails and Postgres. Yeah. And then I was like, oh, this is probably true with like all indexing.
Yeah. Because
it goes in order. Like if you have multiple indexes.
It does. But the kicker with Mongo is that you have to, if you're using like $in or $greater than or $less than, that actually needs to come last, even though it's probably in your query. If you're doing like, this is more about sorting actually. So if you're doing sorting and you're using that $in query, you need to do the selectors, you need to do the sorting fields, and then you need to do the field that you're doing kind of like that big search on, like $in.
Right. So there's the least amount of data that you're then doing it.
Yeah. Well, so the problem becomes like even if it's indexed, they grab it. Let's say you ask for 20 things. They actually have to sort and order that in the memory. And that's the key. When you do the explain, it's sort and order. If it says true, that's like terrible. And it chews up memory. It's really slow.
Yeah.
So
that's going to be good. And like, I'm always surprised how big the telescope world is, and you look at Heroku and it's like one of their top 5 installs.
Is it really?
So it's like really out there. There's a big market out there of people using telescope. So that could be like a really interesting series.
Yeah, I guess I could just write like a speeding up telescope series, and then just make millions off being a telescope optimizer and developer.
Sasha has his telescope Slack. and
Yeah.
that's pretty big.
Yeah, it is.
Go halfers on it. Have them do some advertising.
There you go. No, that's crazy. That sounds terrible. Like I don't know. That's not my thing.
Making money is terrible.
Terrible.
Bad.
I want to do it in ways I enjoy it, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like bank robbing.
But totally.
There's some exercise in that.
That is fun, man.
Yeah. Get the heart pumping.
So we watched Everest last night. Have you seen this movie?
I haven't. No.
It's about the disaster where 8 people died. Sorry, spoiler. In 1996. I mean, it's a true story. It's really interesting. But when we turn it on, I'm always like, doesn't that look fun? And I'm like, no part of going up to Everest looks fun to me. It looks cold. It looks terrible. I have been to Colorado carrying suitcases, and that nearly killed me. So
I've always said, and I don't know why I live in Chicago, but I've always told my wife, I said, you know what? It's just much more enjoyable being more hot than it is being more cold. I'd rather be in a warm spot rather than in a cold spot.
Yeah, agreed.
That is just me. Yeah. And in Everest, I have. I met someone who climbed it last year. And she was like, I mean, good for her, but I just would never do it.
Yeah, not my thing.
Yeah. All right, team.
That guy wants your room, I think.
No way. I got this reserved till 5.
He was scoping you.
Yeah.
You gonna throw down?
Maybe my haircut. He was scoping.
Yeah. That could be it. Maybe he's worried you're gonna punch him or something.
If he goes by again, I'm gonna be like.
Maybe he looked at you and looked out the window and to see if he could see a tank somewhere.
That's funny because my kids came home and they were freaked out at my haircut. They were if I come up to them and I'm just like it's scary, man.
Yeah, you look like you're ready to punch someone.
Yeah, it's fun.
All right, man. Well, thanks for tuning in, guys. And again, modulus.io, great place to host your Meteor apps. And Patreon, patreon.com/ it's still Meteor Club. Soon I may switch it to Space Dojo, but you can go there, sign up, Slack chat room. Reminds me I gotta let someone in.
Yeah, and you guys should sign up because he's gonna bump the price to $50 a month, right? Change it to Space Dojo.
No.
Maybe thinking about it.
Yeah, totally. It's going up soon.
Come on, we learned all about this link baiting stuff this week. Yeah. Let's do this.
All right. See you next week.
Ciao, guys.
This video has been a Meteor Club production. You can find out more information about Meteor Club and join the mailing list by clicking on the Meteor Club button below. If you enjoyed this video, you can also hit the subscribe button below and get more content like this. Thanks for watching.